Hi, welcome back to Martin Next Dimension. I'm Martin, and today on our series of OWL3D live 2D to 3D conversion gameplay, I'm covering first game, Fallout 1, the very first one. So the setup for this is you want the widescreen high definition patch thing that's floating out there, and you want to set the game to windowed mode because it requires it in order to convert it to 3D. It was a little tricky to get it working quite right. I can't remember why at this moment, but it wasn't impossible. It just, I think I messed up the setting once or twice. But as you can see, the video works really well. There's barely little flux in this at all. You saw a little bit on the video, but I think that's the only place I really remember seeing any flux at all. This is stable as a rock. It's just about as good as you can possibly expect it to get with OWL3D Live, at least. I had no problems with this in any way, shape, or form. Now, 3D. So you already saw on the main menu, it looked really fantastic. On this video, the depth is great and really well rendered. Like, it's very amazing that OWL3D Live can take really old video and still make it work. I don't know if the noise helps it. I assume it probably does, since I use a reshade trick on many games to introduce noise so that it stays stable. But it works so well on those. And then you can see here in the 3D environments, well, now we got the menus up, but even the 3D environments look so good. But my favorite part, by far, are the menus. Just look how amazing everything looks on that menu. It all feels like it's got depth and popping out. And when you pop it up, you can see the bars, like get the bars at the end, really make the whole weird machine-like interface just pop so well. The accuracy, though, and we'll get to this in a little bit when we see the outside area, but the accuracy is fantastic on the menus, in the videos, really good. Inside tends to be really good, but there is some outside spots where the buildings look at this. Look how that looks. Just the depth in this menu is so stunning. Just stunning. I absolutely am bowled over by how amazing this looks. It's so cool to see Fallout 1 this way. I played it back when it came out. Shh, don't tell anybody. It's that old, so... But the accuracy suffers a little bit when you're out. Not enough for me to even like be bothered by it at all. You can see a little bit in here, but in general, the isometric view works fantastic, and it's really a joy to look at. Glitch-wise, I didn't actually think I saw any glitches. Mouse works fine. No real, you can see accuracy right there a little bit, where it's trying to do that back wall a little in front of her. But the glitches, I don't really know of any outright. This is the area where some things look like they're not quite on the ground, but pretty minor in general. I think it really just looks good. It's just really a pleasure to look at it this way. It's really fun. So, I like this screen too because of the diodes and the speaker thing on the side. Just so much character really just pops out even more with this. The value that it adds to the gameplay, I'm going to say extremely high. Just brings mundane elements of the game alive. It's very enjoyable to experience. Obviously, you can tell I really like this, right? I'm going to say that is probably my favorite experience so far, so that'll give you a hint on what I'm going to rate it here in a very short period. You can see the building kind of floats off the ground a little there, so they don't settle completely on the ground in some spots, but it's so minor. I can't be bothered by it all that much. So the pros, I think the 3D is fantastic. The menus are just unbelievable. The movies work really well, and even like that gun on my little thing down there is popped off a little bit. It's fantastic. I recorded extra long, and I think I'm standing in this field for most of the rest of the time, so I won't take too long on this. The cons, I guess the cons would be that accuracy sometimes suffers a little bit. It's a little tricky to set up, but I think overall, when I say if I were going to rate, I'm rating it, this is for sure an S tier. By far, my favorite game so far, and I really don't even want to play it not in 3D. This is for sure 100% S tier. Like, I only want to play this in this version now. That's how much I enjoy the depth that this brings. It just brings the world alive even more than I was ready for it to. So, let's Fallout 1. It's my favorite experience so far. Divine Divinity, Fallout 1, both fantastic experiences. Easily, this one got me pretty much right out the gate. Alright, the next game up to bat is AXIOM VERGE. The setup's pretty easy, just make it window mode. There's no big deal on that. This game sometimes has some interesting 3D, sometimes it doesn't. In general, we'll talk about the flux first. The cutscene you'll see here when we watch the starting cutscene, the snow causes it to flux back and forth. Its stability is terrible. And this, whenever that snow kicks in, so it hurts that 3D depth a little there. Other spots, it's okay. It's not so bad. But overall, you see later in the game that there's like actual gameplay has what I'm new category for the flux that I'm adding called warble. And it's just a 3D effect, kind of like, I don't know, kind of simply warbling. You'll see here, not on these cutscenes. These cutscenes are fine. Otherwise, besides the occasional bouncing in and out. The 3D this is a mixed bag. There are times when the 3D looks alright. I'd say decent. And there's times when it looks pleasant. But there's also times when it's just like, is that even in 3D? It's pretty meh, right? It doesn't hit the way it would like to. And we'll see some of that as soon as this movie's over and it's done doing this little thing. I just like to put the cinematics in there at the beginning so you can kind of see a picture of like the whole thing and not just the gameplay, but like how all the pieces fit together. So as you can see as we move down, you see that warble I'm talking about? It's like the 3D is struggling to keep it together when there's movement. Which right to here, this scene looks fine, right? This is actually kind of nice. Those vials on the wall all pop out really nicely. You can kind of see depth in the stuff on the side. But you can also see that sometimes there's a little bit of depth here. It's kind of nice, but not knock your socks off. Same with here, it's decent. But there's other areas where it's so underwhelming. It's barely worth mentioning. So, accuracy is the most part pretty good. There's only some spots where occasionally the tubes you go through are rendered with the wrong depth, but in general the accuracy at least is on mark pretty well. It's just that the warbling and the movement causes that, I think, just the detail on all these little pieces of art maybe gives it grief. I don't know what it is. So I'm gonna have to say that overall the value for this game is okay, right? There is a sense of depth. Like, you can kind of tell those ledges are popped out a little bit, but it's nothing that really super enhances the game. Like, it's all right, but it's hard pressed to go through an effort to play this in 3D, especially if you don't have like a 3D monitor where you don't have to worry about putting a headset on to play the game, where it maybe doesn't hit as much. So I'm going to give the value just plain decent okay. But when we talk about like what the pros and cons are, so the pros are when the 3D does work, it does look kind of nice. It's easy to set up too. But that's where it kind of stops there, right? You know, the con is that, for everything that has nice 3D, there's a lot more that have just decent to downright like meh, I don't care kind of 3D. Nothing that compels you to be like, man, I want to see more of this world in 3D. There is a scene that comes up here later that I will point out. A couple of the like things where they have unique sets where the 3D does work a lot better. Especially this weird AI thing you talk to that will be in the end of the video here. That looks really good. But for this stuff, it's so busy. I don't know, maybe it just doesn't know how to parse it well. It's kind of, I can see the 3D, but, and here you can see with the tubes kind of are struggling to be at the right depth with what's on the wall. But like a scene here where the background is really clear and plain, but 3D works much better. Like if it was all like that, that'd be a little better, because then like all this stuff in the side brickwork would look so much more amazing. But it's not all like that, so even when you come in, like that's got a little bit of 3D to it. That's kind of interesting. But even when you come to like the boss fight, which I'm about to go into now, it's kind of underwhelming a little bit. So I'm going to say that if for the rating for this game, I am going to give this a C tier, because I just don't know that it's worth putting in the effort. If you really like it, you could play it. That's the C tier definition, right? But otherwise, I probably wouldn't recommend it. I might play it in 3D with a 3D monitor, but now with my VR headsets, no. Not giving me enough of a bang for the buck to do that. So I'm going to stick with a solid C tier, you know. And people can make the decisions on what they like or don't like about it. Otherwise, it runs okay, and it doesn't flux, so I guess that's a plus. But it's just not going to knock your socks off. This is the scene, my favorite one. This has absolutely S tier 3D going on right here in this scene. That's it. So, yeah, take it with how you want. So. This game is called AZTEZ. It's the final one for these three, and this one I don't think anybody plays this game. But ironically, it does really well with OWL3D Live. It's a part board game, part beat 'em up. So this is the board game portion, and this 3D looks nice. It's very pleasant and enjoyable 3D for sure. It's kind of got a pop to all the little elements and pieces. It looks like a board game, which is why I compare it that way. Then this stuff pops up here. The menus all kind of have pop out. That dude's floating in air pretty decently. Now the flat colors do kind of limit it a little bit as far as like the 3D and that kind of stuff. But you look at stuff here, and like this scene is in 3D. Oh, pretty nicely 3D. It's not, because of all the flat colors, makes it not pop as it might. But there's definitely a sense of 3D, and it's pretty enjoyable. I totally went off script. Let's do this. Almost no flux. I can't think of much flux or warble, honestly. It's pretty solid in general. I was kind of impressed. For a game that nobody plays, this one performs pretty well. For the 3D effect, I found the 3D effect pretty impressive in general. These fight scenes, the whole background's in 3D. It looks really kind of cool. All those menus and items and things, they just pop out and they just hit on the screen. So the 3D effect is pretty good. One of the more decent ones for sure. It just, because of the coloring of the scene, doesn't quite hit as hard as you might have otherwise. I haven't seen hardly any accuracy issues. Everything seems to be right where it should be in a 3D environment. But I'm sure there's something somewhere that doesn't show up correctly. But in general, I think the accuracy is really solid. So really good 3D, really solid accuracy. I didn't notice any particular glitches. You play this game with a controller, so the mouse is not even really a normal. All those cards pop out. I love it. It's not really a option with this game, right? I bet you can play with the keyboard, but I wouldn't do that. It's a beat 'em up. For me, a controller makes much more sense. Let's see how the things pop out on this board here. I really love how that kind of looks and the vibe that gives. The value to this game is high. I think the 3D, I'd say good to high, right? The 3D is really pleasant in all the screens. Seeing those menus pop out is really nice. Seeing the little trees pop out on those hexagons that are raised up, that's really fun. You know, this guy floating in the space next to us, next to his mission board, which even has some depth on the top and the bottom of it, is nice. And then these battle scenes look pretty enjoyable in 3D. So, I mean, it's not going to knock anybody's socks off just because of the faded palette, but I think it's a pretty good deal. there's just enough nice 3D effects to make it enjoyable. You know, when you want to play a game in 3D, you kind of want to see those things that all stand out, and you're like, oh wow, that's so cool to see that floating in the middle of the air and whatever not. This game does this with like all the menus, and they begin the fight, and unfortunately I didn't capture when you use your god power, which you turn into this giant like Aztec god and you smack everybody on the screen, or something similar depending on which one you're embodying at the time. But in general, well, it adds a really nice level. Now, again, would I play this with a VR headset on for hours and hours? Probably not, but a lot of games are going to be like that. But if I had a 3D monitor or some other less invasive kind of like technology, I probably would, because I've played the heck out of this and I can't beat this game, honestly. I wasn't able to, well, I stopped trying. I just got tired of mashing my fingers. I'm a little too old to spend 22 hours trying to get past a certain level. But I think I would play it again just to play it with the 3D, even with this. That does bring me to the rating. So if I'm going to rate it, I'm going to rate this one a B. The only reason I don't go with an A is because that faded background hurts the 3D that's in the distance. And there's a lot of people who aren't interested in playing this game, but I find it really enjoyable. But I'm going to say B, so if you have interest, you definitely want to play it this way. It's kind of what a B is. It's not a must play like an A or S tier would be, but if you're even thinking about it, my high recommendation is play it in 3D instead. I will briefly touch on the fact that this game is full 3D, so another method of 3D may work with this, such as Geo11 or one of those other drivers. They might work. I haven't tried. I probably will try before I play it again, but that's just a caveat, so you know that another game might actually work with this. Well, till next time, you have a good one.